Hey, you. You're finally awake.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. After doing some reviews of Final Fantasy Tactics and Digimon Story Time Stranger, it's now time to get back to our usual programming. So today we're going to be looking at the N64 and asking the question, what do you think is the best game on the N64? Now, as always, I'm going to give a list of 7. Now, I'm not necessarily saying these are the best 7, they're just ones that I'm putting forward, and you guys in the comments will have that discussion for me. That's what I want to hear. As always, if you do like this content, please hit that like and subscribe button, and if you're listening to on mobile, please give it a hype. If you want to hear more of me, we've got a weekly podcast, and this week, unfortunately, we're covering Captain Planet for the Sega Mega Drive, and we've also got a $1 a month Patreon, the link in the description below. Right, let's get into it, shall we? What is the best N64 game? GoldenEye. Now, when GoldenEye came out, released in 1997 by Rare and published by Nintendo, it's considered one of the most influential first-person shooters ever made. Based on the goated film GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan, the game not only redefined what movie tie-ins could achieve, but also set the standard for console shooters for years to come. What began as a modest licensed project became a groundbreaking title that combined cinematic storytelling, immersive gameplay, and revolutionary multiplayer design few had ever seen before. Now at its core, GoldenEye follows the plot of the movie fairly closely. Players take on the role of Bond as he unravels a conspiracy involving the mysterious Janus crime syndicate, which plans to use a powerful satellite weapon known as the GoldenEye to devastate London. Missions are set across iconic Cold War-inspired locations, with a few additional ones to fill in some holes. Each level is presented as a secret mission rather than as a simple run-and-gun affair, giving players specific objectives such as destroying communications equipment, copying data, or rescuing hostages. This approach made every stage feel distinct and gave the game a sense of purpose beyond simply just shooting enemies. The gameplay was revolutionary for its time. GoldenEye introduced precision aiming through the N64's analog stick, a feature that became standard for first-person shooters on consoles. The control scheme allowed players to smoothly aim and move, something that had been clunky or nearly impossible on earlier systems. The game also incorporated stealth mechanics. Bond could use silent weapons to take out guards quietly, use gadgets like a watch laser, or sneak through levels undetected. This gave players the freedom to approach missions in multiple ways, rewarding creativity and tactical thinking rather than brute force alone, although let's be fair, going in brute force is the funnest way of doing the game. Graphically, GoldenEye pushed the N64 hardware impressively far. Yes, it could be considered simplistic by modern standards, but they were richly atmospheric. From dimly lit Soviet bunkers to tropical airfields, the game's art direction and clever use of textures created an immersive espionage world. The character models, though blocky, were recognisable and distinct, featuring digitalised faces of the film's actors. Of course, what truly cemented GoldenEye's legendary status was its multiplayer mode. Added late in the development through as an experiment, the split-screen deathmatch quickly became the centrepiece of countless gaming nights. Up to 4 players could compete in various modes across memorable maps like Facility and Temple, using an arsenal of weapons ranging from pistols to proximity mines. The simplicity and balance of the multiplayer mode made it endlessly replayable, and its local split-screen format defined social gaming in the late 90s, although you're not allowed to use Odd Job. He's banned. GoldenEye wasn't just a good movie game, it was a paradigm shift. It proved that shooters could work on consoles, introduced mission-based structure to the genre, and inspired a generation of developers. Games like Perfect Dark, which we may see on this list, Halo and Call of Duty all owe a debt to what Rare accomplished. More than 2 decades later, GoldenEye 007 remains a cultural touchstone, a game that transformed how we play, compete, and imagine the world of James Bond in pixels and polygons. Super Mario 64. Released in '96 as the launch title for the N64, it's one of the most revolutionary and influential games ever made. Developed by Nintendo and the god that is Miyamoto, the game redefined the platforming genre and set the standard for how 3D games would be designed for decades to come. What Super Mario Bros. Did for 2D gaming on the NES, Super Mario 64 accomplished for 3D, and it was the title that taught an entire generation how to move and think in a 3-dimensional world. The game begins with a simple premise that mirrors Mario's early adventures. Princess Peach invites Mario to a castle for cake, and upon arrival he discovers that Bowser has once again kidnapped her and trapped the castle's inhabitants within magical paintings. These paintings serve as portals to different worlds, each containing a variety of challenges and collectible power stars. To rescue the princess, Mario must gather these stars, confront Bowser in 3 epic battles, and ultimately restore peace to the Mushroom Kingdom. Super Mario 64's gameplay was nothing short of groundbreaking. It was one of the first fully 3D platformers, and its open-end design gave players an unprecedented level of freedom. Each course featured multiple objectives that could be tackled in any order, such as collecting red coins, racing Koopa Trooper, or defeating bosses, all with an expansive sandbox-style environment. This open structure encouraged exploration and experimentation, a sharp contrast to the linear design of earlier platformers. The idea of giving players more control over how to approach objectives became a cornerstone of modern game design. Now, what truly set Super Mario 64 apart was its control scheme. The N64's analog stick allowed players to move Mario with fluid precision. He could walk, run, tiptoe, crawl, or perform a dazzling array of acrobatic moves, including triple jumps, wall kicks, and long jumps. For the first time, Mario felt truly alive, responding naturally to the player's every input. The camera system was also a major innovation, allowing players to adjust their view as they navigated 3D spaces. Although occasionally clunky, it was a vital step in shaping how future games would handle camera control. Visually, Super Mario 64 was a vibrant showcase for the N64's power. The environments were colourful, full of personality, and bursting with secrets. From the rolling hills of Bob-omb Battlefield to the fiery depths of Lethal Lava Land, each world had its own theme and challenges, inviting players to explore and experiment. The character models, while primitive by today's standards, were expressive and charming, with Mario's cheerful animations and the voice work by Charles Martinet adding a new layer of personality to the iconic plumber. Super Mario 64's influence cannot be overstated. It laid the foundation for virtually every 3D platformer that followed. From Banjo-Kazooie to modern open-world games, it proved that 3D gaming could be accessible and deeply engaging, blending technical innovation with timeless gameplay. Even decades later, its design philosophy feels fresh, and revisiting the game, whether on the original hardware or modern re-release, still captures the same magic of discovery and joy. Super Mario 64 didn't just introduce Mario to a new dimension, it ushered in a new gear of gaming itself. Perfect Dark. Released in 2000, Perfect Dark stands as one of the console's most ambitious and technically impressive games. Developed by Rare, the same studio behind GoldenEye, it took everything that made its predecessor great and expanded it upon in nearly every way: more depth, more customization, and more futuristic flair. While GoldenEye laid the foundation for the console first-person shooters, Perfect Dark perfected the formula, offering a cinematic sci-fi experience that pushed the N64 hardware to its absolute limits. Set in the year 2023, which is scary, Perfect Dark follows Joanna Dark, an elite agent of the Carrington Institute, as she uncovers a conspiracy involving corrupt corporations, alien races, and global espionage. The game's story blends cyberpunk intrigue with science fiction, weaving together a world of advanced technology and interstellar politics. Players are thrust into missions that range from infiltrating skyscrapers and rescuing hostages to battling aliens on distant worlds. For its time, this narrative depth and futuristic setting were far more ambitious than most shooters, giving players a sense that they were part of a living, breathing world filled with mystery and danger. Gameplay-wise, Perfect Dark built on the foundations of GoldenEye, but takes it to new heights. Each mission includes multiple objectives that vary depending on the chosen difficulty level, ensuring that the higher settings demand both skill and strategy. The game emphasizes stealth, precision, and versatility. Joanna can use a great deal of gadgets like the night vision goggles, scanners, and data uplinks to complete objectives in creative ways. The combat is tight and responsive thanks to the refined analog control scheme and improved AI that reacts dynamically to the player's actions. Enemies duck, flank, and sound alarms, making each encounter feel unpredictable and intense. One of Perfect Dark's most defining features is its arsenal of futuristic weapons, each with a unique secondary mode. The laptop gun doubles as a sentry turret. The Farsight XR20 can see and shoot through walls, which is annoying in multiplayer, and the Cyclone can unleash entire clips with a single trigger hold. These imaginative tools not only added depth to combat, but also encouraged experimentation, giving players multiple ways to approach every scenario. The game's mission structure was equally flexible, allowing for stealthy infiltration or all-out assaults depending on the player's style. Graphically, Perfect Dark was a technical marvel for the N64. It featured dynamic lighting, detailed character animations, and environments that felt immersive and complex. The game pushed the system so hard an expansion pack was required to access the full campaign and most of the multiplayer modes. Of course, the multiplayer mode became legendary in its own right. Building upon GoldenEye's split-screen formula, Perfect Dark offered an even greater level of customization. Players could choose from dozens of weapons, AI-controlled bots with unique personalities, and a wide variety of maps and modes. The inclusion of bots allowed solo players to enjoy competitive matches long after the campaign was complete. This flexibility made it one of the deepest and most replayable multiplayer experiences of its generation. Perfect Dark was more than just a sequel in spirit, it was a statement of innovation. It demonstrated how far the N64 could be pushed and how a console shooter could combine storytelling, technical prowess, and replay value in one cohesive package. Despite hardware limitations, Rare delivered a vision far ahead of its time and one that still resonates with fans decades later. Perfect Dark remains a benchmark of late 90s game design, a bold, intelligent shooter that elevated what was possible on a home console and helped define the evolution of the genre. Star Fox 64, or Lilac Wars for me. Released in 1997, it's one of the most defining space shooters of its era and a landmark title in Nintendo's history. Developed by Nintendo EAD, it served as both a reimagining and an evolution of the original Star Fox on the Super Nintendo. With its cinematic presentation, tight controls, and groundbreaking use of the Rumble Pack, Star Fox 64 delivered an experience that blended arcade-style action with storytelling flair, establishing itself as one of the most N64's beloved and enduring classics. The story follows the Star Fox team, a group of mercenary pilots led by Fox McCloud as they defend the Lilac system from the mad scientist Andros. Once exiled to the barren planet Venom for his experiments, Andros returns to threaten the galaxy, and it's up to Fox and his team, Falco Lombardi, Peppy Hare, and Slippy Toad. Sorry, you know when it comes to this, I just can't help just doing the noise. I'm such a child. The narrative unfolds like an interactive sci-fi film, complete with radio chatter, rival encounters and multiple branching paths that keep each playthrough fresh. While simple at its core, the story is infused with memorable personalities and emotional beats, making the player feel part of the elite squadron of heroes. Gameplay is where the game truly shines. Players pilot the R-Wing, a nimble fighter craft equipped with lasers, bombs, and the ability to perform a barrel roll, somersaults and U-turns to evade enemy fire. The game's on-rail design guides the player through cinematic environments whilst allowing freedom of movement within the screen's bounds, creating a perfect blend of structure and control. Some stages do switch to an all-range mode, offering full 3D movement for dogfights and boss battles. The result is a varied and exhilarating gameplay experience that remains tight and responsive even today, which they can't seem to repeat anywhere else. Each mission in Star Fox 64 takes place on a different planet or space station within the Lilac system, ranging from the lush landscapes of Corneria to the fiery depths of the Solar and the mechanical labyrinths of Area 6. The branching level system was a key innovation. Successfully completing certain objectives or taking specific paths during missions unlocks new routes, leading to different planets and alternative endings. This encouraged replayability as players are motivated to master each mission to uncover every route and challenge. Technically, Star Fox 64 was a major achievement for its time. The visuals were crisp and fast-paced, with detailed enemy ships, explosions, and environmental effects that showcase the N64's 3D power. The sense of speed and scale was remarkable, and the smooth frame rate kept the action intense and fluid. The cinematic camera angles and dynamic cutscenes gave the game a film-like quality that was rare for console shooters of the time. Unlike the Super Nintendo version, this game used voice acting, which was particularly groundbreaking. Each character in Star Fox 64 spoke their lines in a full voice, a first for many players in 1987. We had classic quotes like "do a barrel roll" and "use the boost to get through," became instantly iconic, embedding themselves into gaming culture, although still not as good as Bavada. The banter between the teammates added both humour and tension, helping players feel immersed in the camaraderie and chaos of a real aerial squadron, although you just want to shoot Falco. Bundled in with the game at launch, this accessory added force feedback to the N64 controller, allowing players to feel every explosion and hit. It was a novelty at the time, but quickly became an industry standard, forever changing how players physically connected with games. Star Fox 64's brilliance lies in its perfect balance of accessibility and mastery. It's easy for newcomers to enjoy its straightforward shooting and iconic characters, but challenging for veterans seeking to perfect scores, uncover hidden routes, or achieve all the medals. Its blend of fast-paced action, cinematic presentation, and replayability has endured its legacy as one of Nintendo's finest titles. Decades later, Star Fox 64 remains the definitive entry in the series, a masterclass in design that embodies the excitement of space combat and the heroism of the Star Fox team. With its memorable characters, thrilling gameplay, and timeless catchphrases, it stands as a shining example of how the Nintendo 64 era captured imagination, innovation, and pure fun in one unforgettable package. Diddy Kong Racing. Yes, I chose Diddy Kong Racing. Diddy Kong Racing, released in 1997, is one of Rare's most creative and beloved titles. A colourful, ambitious racing adventure that combined the thrill of kart racing with the depth of open-world quest. Arriving just months after Nintendo's own Mario Kart 64, it might have seemed like another kart racer at first glance, but Diddy Kong Racer carved out a unique identity with innovative mechanics, charming characters, and an expansive single-player experience. It wasn't just a racing game, it was an adventure game built around racing, and it became one of the N64's defining gems. The game's story begins on Timbers Island, a peaceful tropical paradise threatened by the evil space pig called Whizpig, who has invaded and taken control of the land's racetracks. With Timber the Tiger calling for help, Diddy Kong and his friends arrive to restore peace by defeating Whizpig's forces in a series of high-speed challenges. The narrative setup was unusual for the genre. Most racing games offered little more than a championship ladder, but Diddy Kong Racing presented a full-fledged adventure mode, compete with bosses, collectible balloons, and secret access to explore. The gameplay was where Rare truly shone here. Players could choose from a roster of 10 racers, each with different speed, handling, and acceleration stats, including Diddy Kong, Banjo the Bear, Conker the Squirrel, and several original characters like Tip Top the Turtle and Crunch the Kremling. The variety of vehicles made Diddy Kong Racing stand out, and players could not just race in karts, but also in hovercrafts and airplanes. Each vehicle offered unique handling and physics, forcing players to adapt to land, water, or air courses that often mixed all three environments. Tracks were vibrant and imaginative, ranging from the sandy beaches and snow-covered peaks to futuristic speedways and volcanic caves. The design of each course was packed with shortcuts, boost pads, zippers, and obstacles that rewarded exploration and mastery. Adventure mode was the heart of the experience. Players navigated an overworld hub to access themed worlds, which was guarded by a boss character. To progress, racers collected golden balloons earned by winning races, and then forced boss challenges that tested speed and precision. Once defeated, bosses would unlock silver coin challenges, time trials, and hidden keys that revealed secret multiplayer arenas. This blend of exploration and racing made the game feel more like an action-adventure title rather than a traditional racer, and it kept players coming back for more. Graphically, Diddy Kong Racing was one of the most impressive games on the N64 at the time. Rare utilised bright colours, smooth frame rates, and a large open environment to create a world that felt magical. The character animations and environmental effects, such as reflections on the water or the swirling clouds, gave the game a warmth and energy few other racers could match. Multiplayer was another major highlight, although maybe not as good as Mario Kart 64, although definitely not as good as Mario Kart 64. Up to 4 players could compete in split-screen races, battles, or other challenges. The inclusion of battle arenas and modes like Capture the Flag added extra depth, ensuring that Diddy Kong Racing did as much replay value for groups as it did for solo players. What set Diddy Kong Racing apart was its ambition. Rare didn't just make a racing game, they made an entire world to explore, filled with secrets, challenges, and charm. The game introduced new concepts like unlockable characters and vehicles, and that would influence racing and adventure titles for years to come. Its balance of accessibility and challenge, coupled with its personality and polish, made it stand out in the N64's library. Even decades later, Diddy Kong Racing remains a testament to Rare's creativity during the late 90s. It dared to blend genres in a few ways the game had before, delivering a joyful and surprisingly deep experience that continues to be celebrated by fans. Whether you were soaring through the skies, skimming across rivers, or tearing through the jungle, Diddy Kong Racing was pure adventure in motion, a vibrant, unforgettable ride through one of the golden eras of gaming. Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie was released in 1988 and is widely regarded as one of the greatest 3D platformers ever made. Developed by Rare at the height of their power, it combined humour, imaginative level design, and technical brilliance into a vibrant adventure that still holds up today. While it is often compared to Super Mario 64 and still is, Banjo-Kazooie carved out its own identity with distinctive charm, rich personality, and clever world building, making it one of the standout titles of the late 90s. The story begins in the colourful world of Spiral Mountain, where Banjo the Bear and his wisecracking bird companion Kazooie live peacefully until the evil witch Gruntilda kidnaps Banjo's sister, Tooty. Gruntilda plans to steal Tooty's beauty using a sinister transformation machine, and it's up to Banjo and Kazooie to rescue her. To do so, they must venture into Gruntilda's massive lair, solving puzzles, defeating enemies, and collecting musical notes and golden jigsaw pieces known as Jiggies to unlock new world. The plot is simple but endlessly entertaining, thanks to the game's witty writing and memorable characters. Gameplay in Banjo-Kazooie takes the open-world platforming template established by Super Mario 64 and infuses it with Rare's signature creativity. Each of the game's 9 main worlds, like Treasure Trove Cove, Mad Monster Mansion, and Free Easy Peak, they were difficult to say, is a self-contained sandbox filled with secrets, collectibles, and challenges. The goal in each level is to collect Jiggies by completing tasks that range from minigames and races to defeating bosses or solving environmental puzzles. The player must also gather musical notes which unlock new areas, and Jinjos, colourful creatures hidden through the worlds. The multi-layer approach keeps exploration constantly rewarding, encouraging players to poke into every corner and experiment with Banjo-Kazooie's growing set of abilities. Speaking of abilities, the partnership between Banjo-Kazooie is central to the game's design. As they progress, they learn new moves from Bottles the Mole, and Kazooie can use her wings to fly or glide, shoot eggs as projectiles, and perform a high jump, while Banjo can use his brute strength to bash enemies and roll through obstacles. The interplay between the two characters makes the platforming feel fluid and dynamic, blending precision with personality. The duo's constant banter compete with humorous sound effects and goofy voice noises, giving the game a light-hearted tone that's instantly recognisable. Although, let's be honest, the only noise you're going to be hearing this whole game is when you're on Kazooie's legs going... That's all you're going to hear the whole game. And if that's true, put it in the comments below because you know I'm correct. Visually, Banjo-Kazooie is one of the most beautiful games on the N64. Rare's artists pushed the hardware to its limit, creating lush, detailed environments that felt alive. Each world had its own distinct theme and atmosphere, from the sunny beaches of Treasure Trove Cove to the haunting corridors of Mad Monster Mansion. The game's animation and expressive character designs gave it a playful cartoon quality that stood out even among the colourful platformers of the era. Banjo-Kazooie also shone in human writing. Rare infused the game with clever dialogue, fourth wall breaking jokes, and a cast of quirky characters. Gruntilda's rhyming taunts became instant legendary, while side characters like Mumbo Jumbo, although I'm pretty sure you get cancelled these days, and Bottles added their own comedic flair. The tone struck a perfect balance between family-friendly fun and tongue-in-cheek wit, appealing to both kids and adults alike. Beyond its charm, Banjo-Kazooie is a masterclass in design. Its interconnected hub world, logical progression system, and intuitive controls made it approachable, while its abundance of secrets and hidden collectibles gave it incredible replay value. It rewarded curiosity and exploration in a way that few games of its time could match. In the end, Banjo-Kazooie is more just a 3D platformer. It was a statement of creativity and craftsmanship. Rare managed to create a game that was as technically impressive as it was emotionally engaging, filled with laughter, discovery, and heart. Even decades later, Banjo-Kazooie stands a timeless example of why the N64 era was so magical. A game that defined a generation and continues to charm players with its warmth, wit, and wonder. Now, these are just 6 games which I think are some of the best on the system, and there are plenty of ones I probably missed, and you can let me know in the comments below. If you're going to give me 3 others as noteworthy examples, I probably would have said Majora's Mask, Mario Kart 64, and F-Zero X. And now it's time for me to give my favourite. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This game transformed the Zelda series, and gaming as a whole, by bringing it to full 3 dimensions. Much like Super Mario 64 redefined platformers, Ocarina of Time redefined what an action-adventure game could be, blending exploration, storytelling, and innovation in a way that set a new gold standard for the industry. The story follows Link, a young boy living in the Kokiri Forest who is called upon by the Great Deku Tree to embark on a journey to stop the evil sorcerer Ganondorf from seizing the sacred Triforce and plunging the land of Hyrule into darkness. Along the way, Link befriends Princess Zelda and gains the mysterious Ocarina of Time, a magical instrument capable of manipulating time itself. When Ganondorf succeeds in conquering Hyrule, Link awakens 7 years later as an adult and must travel across time to awaken the sages and confront evil. This time-spanning adventure gave the narrative an epic scope rarely seen in games before, combining heroism, tragedy, and destiny into a timeless tale. I've talked before about how Ocarina of Time was so revolutionary. Like, it did have the full Hyrule field. Yes, we know it's not the best when you look at it today, but the whole world itself felt alive. You had day and night cycles, you had dynamic NPCs, and this scale of fantasy was never seen previously. Well, it might have been in a 2D, but not in a 3D setting. I love the Z targeting system, which allowed these dynamic battles and had precise attacks, dodges. Like, I used to dodge around like a ninja as much as I can. Some of the designs for the puzzles were absolutely incredible, like the Forest Temple I loved, the Fire Temple I loved, and everybody hated the Water Temple, although when I did it recently after the baby was born, I didn't find it was too bad. I love playing around with the ocarina, trying to make my own little tunes, and let's be honest, some of us probably wanted to have one and learn the instrument just because of this game. Visually, the game was stunning for its time. Like, the whole world just felt alive, and each environment carried its own distinct mood. The shift from Link's childhood to adulthood was handled brilliantly, and then showing a darker, more mature Hyrule overrun by monsters was really cool. Like, despite the N64's hardware limitations, the art direction atmosphere really brought this world to life. Like, I loved the storytelling as well. The camera angles, the cutscenes, the animations that conveyed emotion were really great. I love some of the characters in this game, like Saria, or is it Sarah? I always used to say Sarah. That's how I just read it. I couldn't understand how the IA worked in it. Zelda, and you could even argue Princess Zora, the upstuck bitch. They made this game have the heart. Actually, no, scrap that. I'm saying my own word. Screw the owl. I hate the owl. Either way, Ocarina of Time left an enduring legacy on game design, Its innovations in the targeting system, the puzzles, the open world structure, and its cinematic presentation could say influence other titles. You could argue like Dark Souls, The Witcher. They could have been influenced from this game. Even decades later, Ocarina of Time retains its magic, whether it's played on the N64, the 3DS remake, or from modern emulation. The sense of wonder it inspires remains unchanged. It's a journey that feels personal and universal, and it's a coming-of-age story that transcends generations. More than just a game, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is a cornerstone of gaming history, a masterwork of imagination, innovation, and heart that continues to inspire players and developers alike. And that's it. These are some of the games that I think are the best on the N64. But I want to hear from you guys. This is what makes the video grow. What do you think is the best N64 game of all time? Or are the ones that just should be really talked about that I've not mentioned? Let me know in the comments below, because that's how we get more conversation and that's how the video grows. Until then, I'll see you in a few days for another video. My name's been Danny. Follow your dreams.